Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
Here we are, defying the odds yet again.
All right, those odds. Like a good James
Those
Cameron movie.
odds.
Those odds.
Every Monday we defy them.
What are the odds you tune into an American soccer show and it's not about Manchester United? What are the odds?
Those odds are low.
Those odds are low. Bjorn, welcome to the Germany Hour. How you doing?
Thank
today?
you. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm doing fine. Can't complain.
You can always You can always complain,
That is the
especially
point.
as a German person. You can always complain.
Flick raus.
Flick raus. Oh wow.
Hashtag flick raus.
Hashtag flick raus.
So
Well-
this is going to be, I guess, a shorter episode. There's some transfer
You
stuff.
say that.
Little this,
You say
little
that now.
Yeah.
You say that now, and then we go on.
I'm saying it out loud for us to hear it, for me to hear
Okay,
it.
good.
To put myself.
Because there's not a lot going on in the Germany. Everybody's on vacation. There's some transfer stuff.
Well, it's about quality, not quantity. So there isn't a lot
That's
of
right.
going on as far as large amounts of news.
Or
But there's
games.
one big thing going on in Germany, and that's we're hosting the Euros, and we don't have a German national team that can beat any teams yet. That's the big news.
It's been pretty bad. These friendlies, I am certainly not one to overreact to a bunch of friendlies, but this was a bad bunch of friendlies.
Also, we have no qualifiers, so these are our only preparation games.
Yeah, there's nothing else going on. It's not like we have anything else to go by. That's true. And the last one was the most puzzling of all, right? We had the Ukraine one, which was bad and sort of unlucky. The Poland one, which I thought had some positives, but
Yeah, you were very optimistic last week about
Kind of.
it wasn't too
Yeah.
bad. And
I
I'm
thought
like,
that
I
one
don't
was pretty
know.
good. And then he sort of switched it all up again. And this Colombia game was bad. This was the worst. This was the worst of the three. I mean,
Yeah,
also,
it
I
got
guess
progressively worse.
I
Right?
guess also Colombia. I guess the opposition got progressively better. And
No,
I
I'm talking
wouldn't.
about.
Colombia better than Poland and Ukraine. No, maybe.
Well,
You
but
don't think
Poland
so?
was at home in their element. Colombia is in Europe. Colombia is way out of their element when they're playing a game.
Well, they had never won. They had never beaten a European team in Europe, I guess, before this friendly. And so
Really?
I texted. That's what they said on the
Wow.
air, and so I texted my Colombian friend and congratulated her, and she appropriately had no idea that it was even going on because it's a meaningless friendly.
Right.
That really nobody cared about. She was like, I was like, congrats for beating us for the first time ever. And she was like, you're talking about the men's team or the women's team? I'm like, wow, okay, you really have no. Yeah, I mean, it was.
Well, it was a big deal in Germany, Bjorn. Just because the Colombians didn't know about it makes it worse. The Germans definitely knew about it.
No, the Germans definitely knew about it, and but I guess Rudi Völler before the game already said that this was not going to be make or break for Hansi Flick, and so
He
he's
said
not
more than that, Bjorn. The big thing out of all this was Rudi Völler playing the bad cop. So we're in the Rudi Völler era of the German national team. Oliver Bierhoff is gone.
right.
He left, and we're already seeing a big difference now. Rudi Völler is taking the role of bad cop, which apparently in German soccer world, that's like the role of the sporting director, as they say that stuff. So Hansi Flick didn't really throw anybody under the bus that I can remember. But Rudi Völler, he didn't blame Hansi Flick. He said certain players will not be here in September. That's what he said.
Yeah.
He blamed the players.
Right. And there was just a lack of quality in certain positions. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
So who was he talking? I mean, I guess I read this too, and I was sort of struggling to see a clear. I had a hard time being like, oh yeah, these people are the problem.
Right. I think it's unfair, right? Rudi Völler is just he's just being like a hard ass, which is fine. He's a little old school, that's fine. But like you said, I'm like, hold on now. Flick,
who are the
decisions back three,
everybody else?
As experimental high press that he did for one game. You know what I mean? Like Flick's all over the place here. The players are just playing. I don't know. I think it's unfair to throw the players under the bus in this.
It's. I mean, clearly they also haven't been good, especially offensively. There has just not been nothing has really come together. But it is weird. Like the Flick thing is weird. He was not like when he was at. I mean, right when he was at Bayern, he wasn't a tinkerer. He wasn't like he wasn't somebody who was just kind of throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. He was like very much like, as long as it's working, we're gonna stick. You know, like he had his guys and he had. It's not like they didn't have a style. He clearly, was into the high press and, but it wasn't. It's just weird how he's like so all over the place in this role.
Well, this is interesting you bring it up because Hansi Flick, his only head coaching experience, if I'm not mistaken, is like those 2 years with Bayern München. Those 2 or 3 where he replaced, was it Niko Kovac, and he came in,
right? Mm-hmm.
And they did so well under him. And then the stories were like, yeah, Hansi Flick, like a horse whisperer. He's like, he was always the good guy with the players. He always got the best of the players. Joachim Löw was the bad cop. Hansi Flick was the good cop. That was their dynamic back when they were the national team head coach and assistant coach. So when Hansi Flick took over Bayern, which was made up a lot of national team players, I think they liked him. And he was the good cop, and then they played well for him, and they won some great titles. Like Bayern Munich were really good under Hansi Flick.
Yeah,
So I look at the chat here. We got Hans Wolf, and we got saying in Schnitzel time, folks. That's right. It's Monday night Schnitzel night.
Fire him now.
And then we got David Sherman saying, "Fire him now." He wants Stefan Kuntz as head coach.
Stefan Kuntz.
Okay, I like that.
The only reason I think of Stefan Kuntz is because this guy in my fantasy league, he has a team that's named Kuntz for Germany, and he wants people to pronounce it differently. Obviously,
what should I say? Sorry.
So,
do you know what I think of when I think of Stefan Kuntz?
What is he doing? I don't even know. What has Stefan Kuntz been up to?
I know, David Sherman. Let us know, please, because I'm a little out of the Stefan Kuntz.
Out of the loop. I mean, if you're saying Stefan Kuntz or Klopp, that's like.
I know. I'm curious, but then again, this goes back to he's coaching Turkey. The Christoph Daum gig. But anyway, where was I? So, the Hansi Flick thing is interesting because his head coaching, like now he's under pressure and he has to be a head coach, right? Now his head coaching skills need work, and we've never seen him struggle before. And that's the difference between an experienced head coach.
Perhaps he's just not the adverse. He doesn't do adversity.
Right. And then that maybe appointing him head coach was a little fast, it was traditional. Because as we know in German national team tradition, the assistant usually takes over.
Well, and also, I mean, in fairness, there's no
one else. Yeah.
There was also no objection. He was like, hugely successful. He was the assistant. He knew the players. He was hugely successful with Bayern. Everybody was like, this is a slam dunk. He's gonna crush it.
Yeah, and it was a really good appointment at the time, I thought. I'm not saying it isn't now, But what I'm saying is now,
Well,
his head
except
coaching
you said,
skills are on.
except you said flick out, flick raus.
I was just saying that out loud. I didn't necessarily say subscribe to that belief.
I
I was just saying, is it time? I was just echoing the sentiment. Okay, so that's A. B, let's talk Stefan Kuntz. So I know, so here we go. David Sherman, he's coached Turkey. Salah Ochan left German camp to play for him.
in
Oh, so
order
you're
to
saying
play for Turkey. All right.
you're saying he's got a following. You know, I love it.
People
when
like
I think
him.
of Stefan Kuntz, I think of him and was it Stefan Effenberg sleeping with his wife? Is that what it was?
What?
That was the Kuntz and Effenberg, the mid '90s. Effenberg slept with Stefan Kuntz's wife. It was a whole thing.
Is that
They
true?
divorced. I mean, unless I'm wrong, I don't know. David Sherman, is that correct?
I know. I mean, I know Stefan Kuntz because he played for Bochum. Those were not his.
Look up Stefan Kuntz. Right?
Those were not his golden years, but he was. We know him now mostly as a Kaiserslautern guy, right? Mostly. Those were his successful years, but he did spend some time in Bochum.
He was at Bochum twice. He was at Bochum for 3 years in the early 80s. He played 100.
Yeah.
He was a key figure for them there. And then he finished his career in Bochum 98, 99. And then he had a couple of, then he was at SV Fürpach, then FC Palacia Limbach, which are likely pub teams or whatever.
I mean, he was 40 years old at this point. This is like amateur. These are amateur clubs that he played for.
So his managerial career, I mean, his real career,
I did not know about this Effenberg situation.
I mean, maybe I'm mixing
this
it
is
up.
Like the Vinalda, the
Winalda, John Hark situation.
Ronaldo, John Hark situation. I guess every team has one of those.
Well, I mean, in their defense, I don't want to. Yeah. Stefan, here we go. What's the 4 professionals and his wife Claudia? Yeah, I think. Anyway, from what I understand, this lady Claudia was Stefan Kuntz's wife. Then she left, and she became Stefan Effenberg's wife. Something along those lines.
I see. So it was okay.
I think it could be wrong. It
was. So it wasn't an affair. There was an overlap, perhaps.
Maybe it's so hard to look up tabloids in the moment.
It wasn't necessarily an affair or cheating, but there might have been an overlap.
Yeah, something was going on between the two of them. That's what I think of when I think of Stefan, which is so unfair. Because maybe I'm wrong.
No, Stefan Effenberg deserves all the hatred.
The line. Famously kicked off the 1994 World Cup team for flicking off the fans on international television. That story sounds familiar, but don't remember who.
He was right. Anyway, all right.
Anyway, Stefan Kuntz, though, he's from Neunkirchen. Played for.
Yeah, he's from my neck of the woods, and then
Ruhrpott boy. But then he was the
well,
German
Neunkirchen is not Neunkirchen's not Ruhrpott, but it is Nordrhein-Westfalen.
Where? Okay, what
right?
is that?
Neunkirchen is more. All right, you talk.
It's in Saarland. Oh, it's in Saarland.
Oh, is it not? Oh, so I'm totally wrong here.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, Saarland.
Never mind. He's not from my neck of the woods, but he is adopted Ruhrpottler because he went to Bochum twice, like you said.
Saarland, one of the many Germanys of the past. You know who is Saarland? There was a time when Germany was 3 countries: West Germany, East Germany, then Saarland. And the head coach of Saarland was Helmut Schön, who then later became the head coach of West Germany. A little German soccer history thing from Saarland. Anyway, so Stefan Kuntz was the German U21 coach from 2016 to 2021. Then he was the Germany U23 coach in 2021. And since 2021, he's been the head coach of Turkey. So but he's also one of those flick guys. He's
so
not a club coach.
If we hired him, would Salih Özcan come with him? Would he switch again?
Can you do that?
I mean, you can only do it once, right?
I know. It's can I file my one-time switch a second time, please?
Can we make it a 2-time switch?
David Riccio signed in like a Mr. German Food segment. No, we can bring it up though. I'm trying to think what I ate. I made Brazilian food this week. I'll put that in a second. And some German food. I bought. Oh, you know what I bought? German Fanta, which is my favorite Fanta. We talked about that.
Oh yeah.
I drove a half an hour in LA to buy a certain brand of pickles. I paid $20 for a quart of pickles, and they're the best pickles I've ever had.
Mm.
And then I saw there was a World Market next door, and they had German Fanta up the wazoo. I was like, hell yeah! So I stocked up. I have American Fanta, German Fanta in my fridge. I'm going to do a comparison video. Tune in. Maybe we'll put in the Schnitzel Boys feed. There we go. But anyway, Stefan Kuntz seems like an old school. He has no real club coaching experience.
I would applaud Stefan Kuntz as an appointment. I don't know. I think they're not done. They're not ready to let go of Hansi, clearly. But I don't know what it's gonna take. It can't be much worse than this. I guess now they have a couple of games in September, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah, and Rudi Völler made these ominous announcements. So who do you think shouldn't be on the team? If you
That's the thing.
If you had to pick out these people that don't have the quality, I thought.
What's his face? The center. I mean, you know who looked really bad on a couple of Ukrainian goals was Tony Rudiger. And it's like, he's our best center back, though. I still believe that, too. So
I don't think he's going anywhere. Malik Thiaw looked very good, I thought. Even in the Colombia game, he wasn't.
I'm fine.
I mean, he starts like Emre Can as a third center. Like, it's so weird. The line is so many odd lineup choices. I thought Leon Goretzka was pretty universally poor in this.
Yeah, invisible.
In this particular set, but that can't be. Is he talking about him? I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird that Rudi Völler. I'm like you. I can't really pick anyone out. I mean, Schlotterbeck can take a break. I'm fine with Schlotterbeck.
Well, he didn't play even all that much, right? Like, he hasn't even. He's not responsible for this particular.
Yeah, but what
results.
I agree.
Zula didn't even get invited. Gundogan, he played really weirdly out of position, and then. Yeah. And later in the game, he switched to the four back line, and that went a little better. But I'm struggling to say, like, oh, I mean, I thought, Gnabry was pretty quiet, but he scored a goal. Like, I don't know, it's unclear who he's talking about.
So it is unclear. I think Rudi Völler's offering words. I don't know, old school, light a fire in your butt. Yes, our players, for whatever reason, Goretzka, Kimmich, Gnabry, Marius Wolf, Emre Can, and Zula, who's being left off. For whatever reason, they're kind of underperforming right now when it comes to national team. However, then you look at the coach who's tinkering, and it's like, maybe tinker less, go back to being a great man manager. It's Flick and the players. Flick has been doing weird things. Maybe he just needs to do a very simple 4-2-3-1, let people play the way they play, keep it simple. And then the players need to show up. I mean, Gundogan was just a key figure in the world's best club, right?
I mean, he put him out of position. He's probably also exhausted. Like, this is not, you can't make too much out of his game, I would say, necessarily. But like we said, it's a combination of things. The team also is getting, they're not getting any breaks. There's a lull. They're not confident, and it's just not. It's not flowing. It's not flowing for them.
Yeah, so I don't know the answer.
Kai Havertz is going to Arsenal, 75. So some people think 75. You said 75 million.
85
million. What euro?
Let me
pounds?
Look it up right now.
Is it?
And also, speaking of Gundogan, he's going to Barcelona as well.
Yeah,
he's also moving
going to Barcelona
on a free, but still interesting move. What do you think of the Gundogan move, going from Man City to Barcelona?
Well, I think from what I heard, he just wanted a multi. He's turning 33 this fall, and he wanted multiple guaranteed years, and I guess City weren't ready to do that at what he wanted. I think they were pretty close, but not. I think he would have been happy to go back, but he wanted some extra years, and I think he also. I mean, this is a great time to leave City if you have good options. I mean, they just won the treble. It's all downhill from here. Pep Guardiola announced he's going to stay for 2 more seasons. I think that's really odd. That's a really odd thing to do, like to sort of announce your departure 2 years ahead of time. So I think it's a good time to leave if you have a good option. I think he has a kid now. He wanted multiple years on his contract. And I think, probably pretty nice to go to Barcelona. I think Lewandowski, his old Dortmund pal, seems like had something to do with it. So
just a new challenge.
He I think I read in The Athletic that he had very specific assurances that if Barcelona isn't able to, if they have financial problems and they can't register him, then he will be a free agent while still getting paid for the full season. I think that's what I heard is the contract clause that he has. So good for him. Good for him.
That's my dream contract. on the books, making money, but I don't have to play.
I don't have to
go hang out on the beach somewhere and just make money. That's a good contract.
So so that's I think it's a good move for him. I mean, we'll see. There's going to be a lot of turnover at City, and we'll see who. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be good, but they're probably not going to be as good. I mean, who knows? Who knows? They still have Haaland, and that's going to be big. But
Pep to Inter Miami.
I was thinking this weekend. This is a little. I don't know. Are we ready? Are we done with?
Well, yeah, that's good. I looked up the Kai Havertz thing. But what is 65 million pounds? It's 82.7 million US dollars. That's $80 million.
That's a lot
for a guy who's not a number 9 being bought by a club.
Well, is he not though? This is what I was going to talk about. I have decided, and obviously I hold no power in the world of soccer whatsoever. So, but I have decided that I will retire for myself the term false 9.
Oh, okay.
I will no longer refer to anyone as a false 9 because I think it's nonsense. I think it is nonsense.
Yeah, isn't a false 9 just a true 11?
Well, a false. I think you're either playing without a 9 or you're playing with somebody who is a bad 9, and that's how that term. That's how that term is usually used. It's not like, Harry Kane. Harry Kane goes very far into the midfield or on the wing. He's part of the build-up. He goes very deep. Nobody thinks of Harry Kane as a false 9 because he scores a lot of goals. So it's a false 9 is a euphemism. Either for a tactical meaning you don't have a 9 and so you're just making do with somebody in that position who's a bad 9,
right?
Or you have some kind of tactical, but there's many different ways to play the position. Number 9 doesn't, the days of Horst Rubesch are long gone, where the number 9 meant like you get the tallest guy to stand in the box and have a Hans Wolf is saying he is a false 9 in regards to Schwanz dimension.
The Schwanz. Yeah, I'm also a false 9.
But I agree. I think that is where I think it has become a derogatory term in that way, where you're like calling somebody a false 9. Kai Havertz is not a false 9. He plays the 9. He just plays the 9. He's in that position. He joins the build-up. He's not always in the box waiting for headers, but he plays the 9. If you feel like he's not doing a good job of it, then that's one thing. But calling him a false 9 is not accurate, especially when he plays for Germany. He was like, he's in that position. And
that's the marketing department's job. That's what they do. They come up with positional names.
And if Pep Guardiola just says to Erling Haaland, okay, I want you to play deeper. I don't want you to, I want you to go. You're not going to start referring to him as a false 9. Like, no way. He's
a target man, right? There's all sorts of words in a target man.
But
all nines are target
man. Right. But the point that I'm making is that the term false 9 is sold to us as an expression of a tactical concept. But really what it is, it's a value judgment on a certain type of player. And I think for that reason, I'm gonna retire it for myself. I'm just gonna be like, if Kai Havertz is not good at playing the 9, then that's one thing, but that doesn't make him a false 9.
It's like a baritone being referred to as a lazy tenor. Music reference,
right?
It's like, they're really just baritone. All right, I like it. I'll buy it. I love the idea of the marketing department's like, let's figure out tactical nuances to our. We do live in a time right now. Now, maybe I'm wrong. It didn't feel like this way in the 90s. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where everyone's trying to become a number 9, but they're like failing because that position's gotten just way too difficult. And they're just falling into winger. And there's just a millions of wingers. Everyone's a winger. And wingers are like lazy 9s. Kind of like how tenors are lazy baritones, or the other way around. Lazy. It's like people try to be a 9, they don't score goals, so a year later they're like, oh, they're wingers now. It's just a winger because this hold-up play, quote unquote, is very, very good.
Well, I would say almost the opposite in some ways, that some people just want the 9, the striker money, even though they are wingers, like Timo Werner or maybe Kai Havertz. I think it's almost, you get paid more as a striker, and so that's where. I mean, I think you're right though, in the sense, like I think of, and I mean, obviously this is a huge generalization, but I think of the 90s as like sort of the heyday of the 4-4-2, where you just kind of had like these sort of wing backs, and then you had, like during Germany won the World Cup with Klinsmann and Völler. Klinsmann and Völler.
Yeah, and then
later Bierhoff. Yeah, where you had like two strikers that were both sort of central, and then you had
Karl-Heinz Riedel.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think it wasn't until later that the wingers really became were back in vogue. Like I think in the 80s, the wingers, 80s were a big time for wingers. And
let's pretend Bernd Schneider was around today. What position would he be?
Bernd Schneider would be a fullback probably.
Yeah, same with Stefan Effenberg. Like right midfielders and left midfielders don't.
Well, Stefan Effenberg was more of a 10, right? Like he was more of a central playmaker type. Like he was too slow, really, to go anywhere too far.
Unless it was with Stefan Kuntz's wife.
Yeah.
I just want to give.
So I will. At this point, the only time I will refer to anything as a false 9 is when we're talking about Hans Wolf's penis, which I have very little occasion to talk about.
Do we have play your club drop? I need to get drops ready again. Say that one more time.
The what?
Play your club drop.
The club. Oh, okay.
Hold on. Let's say one more time. The only time I'll refer.
What?
Yeah, the only time I'll refer to a false 9 is I'm talking about our friend Hans Wolf's Stucker, Schwanz.
Sorry, what?
What is your favorite German slang for penis?
For penis?
There are a lot.
Well, my I don't know. When I was very little, both my mother and my grandmother would refer to it as the men line. Somebody like a little man, like a diminutive,
like a small man.
Like if when I was a kid, I was in the bathtub. My grand would be like, "You got it. Don't forget to wash your men line."
Did you know what that meant?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's what I thought it was referred to. But I guess it was.
I like that.
This was for children. This was for
but that's very kid-like.
Children.
Adults are like Stocher, or like there's one in Young Frankenstein.
Stocher? What?
What's the one in
disgusting.
Young Frankenstein? And
I don't
something
know.
like that. Who knows?
I don't know.
Speaking of German to Americanisms, which is what I love. These are my favorite segments. When I was a kid, I'm American, but my family's German. My dad's always German. He's never spoken to me in English, so I can only understand 3/4 of the things he's ever told me in my entire life. Anyway, when I was a kid, he took me to the bathroom. This is when we were on an RV adventure with a bunch of other German families, being Germans traveling. And he took me to the bathroom, and he goes to me, he's like, groß oder klein? Right? That's very common German. It's big or small. In German, now I know that means pee-pee or poo-poo, right?
Yeah, number one or number two. Number one or number two. Yeah.
As a kid, I don't know what that means. I'm American. I don't know what that means. I thought he meant, do I need a small toilet or a big toilet? Because that's literally what that means. And I was like, God, am I going to fall through the big toilet? I don't know.
Is this going to be too big?
maybe am I too big for the small
Oh, so you
toilet?
said small, you said Klein, and then you
No, I said regular size. That's what I said. And my dad's just like, okay, not wanting to correct me or anything like that. So the adventures of living two cultures as a young child. I also want to talk earlier in the chat. Hans Wolf said it's so odd we've all become accustomed to Barcelona operating without quid.
Yeah,
and I'm
I
like,
know.
yeah, it is weird, isn't it? Because
It
whenever they
is weird.
sign players like Gundogan on a free, I'm just like, how are they gonna? It almost feels like they're playing the game that I play when I go to 7-Eleven is, will my debit card clear or not? I go swipe and I wait and I'm like, God, I hope this Sprite clears. Sounds like that's what Barcelona's doing right now in the global market.
The big teams are just like us.
They're like,
just hoping
I hope we can register these players in time.
Hoping that the check will clear. But Gundogan, at least, I thought that was interesting. That Gundogan at least made that very clear. Made that very clear that he wanted that he was not going to have any. There was not going to be any funny stuff.
No funny stuff. Cool. Try to think. So, how do you feel about the Kai Havertz transfer? Is it a good move? Is it a good move for Kai? Is it a good move for Arsenal? A good move for Chelsea?
I was thinking. I have a friend who's an Arsenal fan, and I was sort of earlier this season talking about how Arsenal is like going back. They have, when they are good, they have a lot of these sort of musketeer looking dudes. Like they had in their. These sort of the skinny little mustaches and like sort of players who look like they would have consumption in the 18th century or whatever. That's slightly like sort of less than healthy kind of. And now they have Martinelli and Odegaard, and they're kind of in that ilk. And I feel like Kai Havertz fits in that very well. Like that sort of, he has that also that kind of.
Kai Havertz looks like a monk.
19th century looking. I don't know.
Is it me? It feels like he's got like a bowl cut situation. Like
he has a bowl,
like a young Friar Tuck. My miss.
If
we had to cast the Arsenal in a show, I'd cast Kai Havertz as Friar Tuck.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I think my hold on, I'm looking up the vampiric consumptive looking. My friend referred to as Kai Havertz, and I think that's he says he always reminded me of a character from a romantic era horror novel. Like he has that little bit of a like the
Klaus Kinski is Dracula.
But he's more the guy, the guy who's married to the lady who comes to the castle to do the paperwork, right? Like he's like the accountant.
Jonathan
He would
Harker.
be the accountant. What? Yes, exactly.
Jonathan Harker.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think in that sense, he fits in quite well. Now, of course, we had all that talk about the good 9 or bad 9. What position is he going to play? It's unclear. Is he going to, they have Gabriel Jesus, who missed a lot of time hurt, but he is a 9, an actual 9. He scored a lot of goals early in the year. So is Havertz, but they also have quality on the wing. Is he going to, some people have speculated he's going to be more of a 10. He's going to play in midfield. So that'll be interesting. I'm interested to see. I like Kai Havertz. I think he's good. The Chelsea have been just obviously a dumpster fire, just a weird situation for him. And, the 9 may or may not be his best position. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's good. It's a good move for him. Arsenal obviously are a promising team. So we'll learn a lot. We'll learn more about him.
I'm rooting for Arsenal. It'd be nice to have one of the old clubs do well again. Arsenal lost the title. It was in their hands this season. They lost it. And hopefully Kai Havertz is the reinforcements they need to get it done. I think there's 1 or 2 other players linked are going to happen over the summer. And maybe that'll be just that little push they need to push them over the edge. Plus, they got Champions League football this year, too. And, wish them the best. And let's hope Kai Havertz does well for them.
Declan Rice, I guess they're in a bidding war with City for Declan Rice's services.
I think that'd be a good move for them. And, if they move into a number 10, is that good for Germany? I don't know if I'd love that. Or maybe it's great for Germany. Maybe that's what we're missing. Maybe we're missing a Kai Havertz a little deeper down the field, being more creative for the national team.
Kimmich, Gundogan, Havertz midfield. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
And
that might be it.
I mean, we still need a 9, false or otherwise.
Fulkrug. Fulkrug's our boy.
Fulkrug, yeah.
Fulkrug, he'll do it up.
Well,
He'll do it up. He also didn't have an amazing set of games, but
he got sort of little time. Kai Havertz
Yeah.
came off the bench in the Ukraine game and did very
Muscle
well.
for
So
10
then
minutes,
that kind of showed some uncharacteristic muscle. Yeah, interesting. We'll see. But this is it. Yeah, this is it for us, for Germany.
Lass uns sehen. We can't fix the German national team. Can Rudi Völler? Can Flick? Tune in. They are playing a couple of games in September, and then they're coming to the United States in October for the mighty test against Greg Berhalter and the boys in red, white, and blue.
I'm excited. Join the party bus.
Join the party bus. All right, that's it for the Germany Hour. Friends and fam, we're here every week. We're now going to hop over to the USA Hour. We're going to talk Greg, World Cup, and Red Bulls, and Inter Miami, and all the American soccer stuff. Because in America, it is the summer of soccer, the first of many, as they have the FIFA Club World Cup coming as well. Join us in the USA Hour to talk USA stuff. Tschüss. Bis nächste Woche oder bis gleich.
Bis gleich.